Hopefully you all can see that.
We can see it. Yeah,
Fab.
Unreal.
good to go again.
So I'm Chris. I started at Esri UK a couple of months ago. I don't know how many tales I have about the graduate scheme just yet, but I'm going to give you a bit of a perspective on how I got interested in GIS and the application process to Esri UK. So how it started. I was interested in maps from a young age. Geography, the classic, was always my favourite subject. But I liked art, and I had a feeling that maybe, I wanted to be an architect. But after finding out about long A levels and qualifications, I decided to stick with geography, maths, and history, and then follow my passion geography to the University of Exeter. Um, I wanted a course as broad as possible. It allowed you to either select physical or human geography, and then pick one of them after the first year. We did all the classic physical geography stuff, like going on trips. I'm sure you guys will be going through that at the moment. And here's a pic of Slapton Stands, which was great fun. Started to use GIS more in my second year. I hadn't really heard of it before then. And I just went on a bit of a whim to a trip to the UK Hydrographic Office in Taunton. And it was a real eye-opener for me because it's actually one of Esri UK's biggest customers, funnily enough. But I got to see people using GIS in their everyday jobs, and it kind of broadened the possibilities for me that this is something that you could do with it. The rest of my second year was spent in Hatherley Labs in Exeter for people who know Exeter, studying GIS, producing map outputs like the one you see there on glaciers in Greenland, and just trying out different parts of GIS and getting to grips with the technology. So I picked modules in my third year to add this with applied GIS title to my degree, and my dissertation, which was in the Nubra Valley of the Himalayas, was really GIS focused. So did my dissertation on the Siachen Glacier, had a very lengthy title about debris classification, and I really enjoyed it, but it was a massive headache. You can see some of my outputs there. Very beautiful long glacier. But I got to the end of my master's not knowing what I wanted to do. And I kind of thought I wanted to broaden my kind of knowledge a little bit, especially in terms of UK sustainability. So I picked a course called MSc Global Sustainability Solutions, which should be, there we go. And that kind of, I did a dissertation in conjunction with Lloyds Bank, which was not to do with GIS, but I tried to use the GIS as much as possible throughout my time there. I got to the end of my master's and I couldn't help thinking about what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure. I thought I could maybe be a sustainability consultant, but then a really great spanner got thrown in the works of my career. I got offered a contract. I've been playing rugby for a long time since I was younger. It was my passion. And I got an opportunity to go over to Ireland and play there as a professional for 2 years. So that was really cool. You can see me on Inch Beach here. It was really, really good time. And after a short stint in Swansea, me with my parents, I moved back to the UK because rugby is a pretty brutal sport. I'd in the background in that time, I'd been part of the environmental sustainability group at Munster, and I'd kind of kept my toe in with the sustainability in GIS, but I hadn't been focusing on it in my day to day. And I think that keeping your toe in and doing extracurricular things is a point which I think everyone thinks is a really, really good idea. If you get an opportunity to be part of a working group, to go on that field trip to the UK Hydrographic Office, or, to do a bit of extra work for your lecturer, I think that's really worth it, because all my experiences have shaped what I wanted to do. But these extra things that I did, I think really gave me an opportunity to see what I wanted to do a bit more clearly. So anyway, back to the story. Professional rugby is brutal, and I moved back to England, and I actually picked a town called Tame in Oxfordshire kind of based off the fact that they had a half decent rugby team there, and I thought I'll figure out what I want to do with my life when I get there. I worked at a company called the Jamaica Patty Company for a year, and it was good experience, and I got to learn a lot about hard work and a lot about how different people think. But I wanted a company with a more environmental ethos, and I wanted a bit more purpose in my job. I had a lot of friends that moved to the big city after graduating, and they work for companies with a really high burnout rate with bad cultures. I didn't want that either. I didn't want to get a job that didn't work for me in my life. I know this is a crazy mindset with the current job climate, but that's what I wanted anyway. Then I saw that this is the last day at the Jamaica Patty Company before my Esri interview. We'd set a record there for production. Anyway, I saw this opportunity at a company called Esri, which produced the GIS technology that I've been doing at university, and I couldn't believe it. Esri seemed like the perfect mix of what I wanted. It was an environmentally responsible company because the technology enables our customers to make efficiency improvements. And it also is a technology company where people were able to make long-term careers. And I looked at the type of jobs people at Esri UK do. It's not that dissimilar, some of them, to a sustainability consultant, except your focus isn't on sustainability, it's on meeting the customer needs with the technology. So I just thought that was a really good avenue for me to go down. In addition to this, the graduate scheme, you have the opportunity to go across so many different departments and learn new skills, and finally end up in a role that you want to. The scheme had a really good track record of retaining employees, as does the whole company, to be honest. I think what impressed me on my interview was that 4 out of 7 of the people that interviewed me had been at the company for over 20 years. I think the minimum length was 8 years. And I just came away thinking, wow, that's a company where I could stay for a long time. Anyways, so I put all my effort into the application for Esri. And after a short video interview in early 2025, I attended an assessment day. I felt quite lucky that they had not filled all the roles for that year yet, because the grad scheme gets more and more popular every year. So it's a good thing that you're thinking about careers in GIS today. I was very nervous. I think I was worried because I didn't come straight out of university, that maybe my GIS skills wouldn't be polished enough. But this couldn't be further from the truth. They're fundamentally looking for good people, and niche GIS skills can be picked up on the job. During the interviews, I felt that everyone I spoke to I had good rapport with, and it was somewhere I'd like to work. I know that a lot of graduates will apply for a whole host of jobs straight out of university, and you have to cast the net wide because it's kind of the nature of the game. But I do think that me having put all of my effort into my Esri application, only being very selective and being able to put into the time that it needed, meant that I was able to stand out against other applicants, and that I had fully prepared for the interviews. I'd even done stuff like put a little portfolio of some of my better projects from university in my cover letter to try and stand out a bit. So I joined Esri 9 weeks ago, and I'm really happy so far. Here is myself. Esri Careers. Here is myself and the other graduates. It's crazy that it's only been 8 or 9 weeks, and we feel like such a close-knit group already. And I've already completed my time in my first rotation marketing, where I was able to learn loads about how the business works and how the business is trying to communicate with our customers. We had the graduate kickoff event, as Claudia mentioned, in Windsor. This is us trying to wave at the king as many times as possible. And you feel really close to year twos. They're there if you need them, as well as the year ones. So yeah, I've been able to create some really cool things so far. This is some of my outputs from my product comms placement, which I'm on now. Cool map of Massachusetts as part of a training. Produced some of the GIST news for marketing, and was involved in a social media post which went out to customers. Bit of fun, celebrating National Roast Dinner Day, but also showcasing some of our technology and what you can do in a story map. So that brings me to the end. I've included a link to my LinkedIn at the bottom. Feel free to reach out if you'd like. I'll hand over to Amy now, and she can tell you a bit more about her second year at Esri.